Today's story is so intense, it turns silence into a warning. Set in the heart of the American West, where dust storms roll across open land and shadows stretch longer than the truth. This is where dangerous paths cross, where the past refuses to stay buried, and where survival depends on more than luck. It all started with a single decision not to sell. A small act of defiance that ignited consequences no one was prepared for. Before we kick off this adventure, don't forget to hit like and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. In the blistered border country of southern Arizona, trouble is already moving toward its next mistake. When the most vicious arm of the Sinaloa cartel fixes its gaze on a quiet spread in Shadow Valley, they assume they're dealing with nothing more than an aging American rancher. That assumption will cost them dearly. Tomorrow, there's something special waiting. Cole Ashford is no ordinary cattleman. For 28 years, he served as one of the most feared Delta Force operators the United States ever produced, leading missions so classified they'll stay buried for decades. His call sign was Ghost Ash, a name whispered in secure rooms and enemy camps alike. He was the kind of operator who slipped through fortified compounds and erased high-value targets without leaving a footprint. This isn't just another borderland tale. It's the story of how the most dangerous cartel faction in North America learned a hard truth. Some warriors never truly walk away. When they came for his land, they had no idea they were stepping into a trap laid by a master of unconventional warfare. What follows is how one man and a handful of elite veterans dismantled an entire cartel operation in just 72 hours. Armed with nothing but a remote ranch, 3 decades of combat experience, and the cold discipline that made a legend. The Arizona sun hammered down as Cole worked the fence along the eastern edge of his property. Dust devils spun across the hardpan, weaving between towering saguaros that stood like ancient sentinels. Fang, his Belgian Malinois, swept the perimeter with his nose low, muscles tight, never relaxing. At 55, Cole still moved with a predator's economy, no wasted motion, every step deliberate. His hands looked like those of any working rancher, but they carried the unseen history of countless Black Ops missions. Then, something caught his attention. Fresh tire tracks carved deep into the soil, far heavier than any local pickup. Fang's ears snapped up, a low growl vibrating in his chest. Cole dropped to one knee, studying the marks with a professional eye. Heavy vehicles, military-grade tires, not border patrol, not local law enforcement. A battered Ford pickup rolled up beside him. Rosa Delgado, his neighbor and the owner of the Valley Mercantile, looked worried enough that Cole knew the news before she spoke. "Cole, have you heard about the Reeves family?" He straightened, brushing red dust from his jeans. "What about them?" "They're gone, vanished overnight. And this morning I saw black SUVs at their place, men in tactical gear. They weren't local." "Cartel," Cole said evenly, even as his mind was already running angles and contingencies. "The Black Hollow men." Rosa nodded, knuckles tight on the steering wheel. "That's what folks in town are saying. They're pushing north out of Sonora, buying up ranches one by one. Anyone who won't sell." She let the rest hang in the air. Cole's jaw set. "They come to you yet?" "No. But the Martinez place went last week. Same story. Mysterious buyers, too much cash to turn down. People say they're using the land for supply routes." Cole's thoughts locked onto the pattern. Isolated properties, legal cover for traffic, existing structures perfect for storage. A clean logistics web. Rosa leaned closer, lowering her voice. "These aren't common criminals. They're organized, trained. Some say ex-Mexican special forces. Clay Morrison doesn't have the manpower, and no one else will stand up to them." Cole rested a hand on her door. Don't worry about me, Rosa. I've dealt with worse. Just be careful. They're taking this valley piece by piece. It won't be long before they come knocking. As she drove off, Cole whistled for Fang and headed toward the barn. Beneath hay bales and ordinary ranch gear sat a bunker he'd installed the day he bought the land. Friends had called it paranoia. Cole called it preparation. He lifted the reinforced steel hatch, revealing equipment he'd hoped would stay buried. Military-grade radios, weapons, tactical kits, surveillance tools, everything needed if things turned ugly. Planning for worst-case scenarios had been his life's work. This was no exception. His satellite phone buzzed, a message from an old intelligence contact. Silas Morato's people moving fast. 8 properties taken last month. Watch your 6. Cole secured the phone and moved to his office, spreading topographical maps across the desk. His ranch sat on a natural choke point, access to dry washes and ancient trails no map showed. Now he understood their interest. Engine noise drifted in from the main road. Through high-powered optics, Cole watched 3 black SUVs pass his gate, crawling along far too slow. Recon, marking the target. They don't know who they're dealing with, Cole muttered, scratching Fang behind the ears. The rest of the morning was spent on calls to men he'd fought beside, in places that officially never existed. "Rook," Cole said into the phone. "Time to cash in that favor." A pause, then a familiar voice. "Been a long time. How bad is it?" "Silas Morato's outfit is moving into the valley, taking ranches, setting up distribution. They'll be here soon." A low whistle. "You want backup?" "Wouldn't hurt to ride together one last time." "You know we're not young anymore." Cole allowed himself a thin smile. "Neither are they." Cole Ashford smiled without warmth. "Neither are they. Call the others." There was work ahead. By mid-afternoon, his plan was already rolling. 4 men from his old circle were inbound. Rook Calder, the long gun specialist, Flint Mercer, the demolition man, Nolan Cross, who owned the airwaves and the wires, and Elias Ward, the combat medic who'd kept them breathing more times than he could count. Together, they had broken warlords, hunted terrorists, and stood down armies. A cartel faction wouldn't know what hit it. As the sun slid low, Cole walked the spread again, but not with a rancher's eyes. He saw it like a commander: angles, approaches, choke points. Every ridge and dry wash could be turned to his favor. The cartel thought they were leaning on an old man's place. What they were really stepping into was a kill ground laid by one of the most seasoned operators ever to wear the patch. Fang barked sharp, snapping Cole's attention to the road. The same black SUVs from earlier rolled up and stopped at the gate. Cole squared his shoulders, tipped his battered hat, and slipped into the part. Let them think he was harmless. Let them underestimate him. It would be the last mistake they ever made. 7 men stepped out, tailored suits barely hiding tactical gear. Cole counted 3 more lingering by the vehicles, hands close to steel. Fang rumbled low, but a calm touch from Cole settled him. Mateo Cruz led the group, polished boots kicking dust as he came forward. His smile was smooth, rehearsed, but his eyes were cold and measuring. Cole had seen that look before, in places where law and mercy didn't reach. "Mr. Harrison," Cruz said, offering a hand. "Beautiful land you've got." The grip came on hard, a cheap play for dominance. "Amateur." "What can I do for you, gentlemen?" Cole replied easily, voice friendly while his mind logged everything. 2 men drifted toward the barn, pretending interest. One lingered at the gate with a radio. Prior military, sloppy now. Comfortable. "We represent an investment group," Cruz said, sweeping a hand across the valley. We've been acquiring properties. Expanding operations, you might say. Your land has certain qualities. Cole leaned on the fence, relaxed as a porch cat. Inside, he was marking fields of fire and weaknesses. Ex-military, at least 4. The rest were hired muscle used to scaring civilians. Not selling, Cole said. Land's been in my family a long time. Cruz's smile tightened. Perhaps I wasn't clear. We're prepared to pay well above market. $5 million in cash, generous for a place this size. Cole scratched Fang behind the ears, watching the 2 men by the barn. They were checking sight lines, mapping angles, not buyers, an advance element. Money isn't everything, Cole said. Some things aren't for sale. The friendly mask cracked. Cruz stepped closer, voice low. This valley is changing. Call it progress. You can profit from it, or... Cole stayed calm, noting the subtle shift as the men closed in. Standard intimidation. Or you might find this place less welcoming. Cruz continued. Accidents happen, especially to stubborn old men who don't know when to take a deal. Cole straightened, a trace of iron in his tone. Sounds like a threat, Mr. Cruz. Cruz's eyes flicked wide, just a hair. Cole had used his name. A name he shouldn't know. A message delivered clean. Just facts. Cruz recovered. Fighting change is unwise. One man by the barn muttered in Spanish about cameras. Cole had let them spot the obvious ones. The real eyes were elsewhere. Think it over, Cruz said, producing a card. You have 24 hours. After that, the offer won't be so kind. Cole took the card, noting the shell company. Standard cover. I'll think on it. Do that. Cruz turned to leave, then paused. Fine dog. Belgian Malinois, right? Shame if something happened to him. Fang growled, catching the tension. Cole kept his hand steady on the dog's head. His voice carried 30 years of hard lessons. That would be a very serious mistake. Something in his tone made Cruz hesitate. Just a flicker, but it was there. The mask slipped, and Cole saw it. Surprise. They'd expected an easy mark, someone they could buy or bully. Instead, they'd glimpsed something else entirely. Something in Cole Ashford's tone had tripped alarms forged by years of bloodshed. The cartel men backed off toward their SUVs, swagger intact on the surface, but thinner now. Cole watched them disappear down the road, already running contingencies. His phone buzzed. Rook called her. 2 hours out. Teams together. Cole typed back, make it 1. Company's already knocking. Inside the house, he brought his real security online. Cameras hidden among cacti and stone watched every approach. Motion sensors stitched the perimeter. All of it fed a command hub buried beneath the house, a relic of planning for worse days that never quite went away. He pulled up satellite overlays of the valley, tagging known cartel holds. 8 ranches taken in the last month, each one chosen with care. His spread was the missing key, commanding the valley's main access and offering miles of clear sight lines. The phone rang again. Rosa Delgado, worry tight in her voice. Cole, they were there, weren't they? I saw the SUVs. Just a business pitch, Cole said, checking his weapons cache. Nothing to fret over. Don't lie. Hank Dobbs stood up to them last week. Next day his barn burned. Day after, his wife wrecked on a straight road. No witnesses. Listen to me, Cole cut in. For the next few days, stay with your cousin in Tucson. Don't tell anyone you're going. What are you planning? Better you don't know. Trust me. He ended the call and dropped into the bunker. Everything was as he'd left it, clean, serviced, ready. He moved through the checks by feel, stripping and rebuilding rifles while Fang padded above, nails whispering on the floor. Cole paused, listened. Another engine, different note. He checked the feeds. County cruiser. Thomas Reed, young, earnest, in over his head. Cole met him at the gate. Reed shifted his boots. "Mr. Ashford, word travels. I heard you had visitors. About Dobbs, about the Martinez family. We know, but we can't prove it. These people are connected. Evidence vanishes. Witnesses change." Cole nodded. "You're here to tell me to take the deal?" Reed's shoulders sagged. "They own half the valley already. Fighting them is suicide." "Appreciate the warning, Deputy. I'll manage." Reed drove off. Cole's phone chimed again. Nolan Cross. Intercepted traffic. Full assault planned. They're not waiting 24. Cole smiled without humor. Perfect. Let them come heavy. Let them think they've got the edge. 30 years had taught him that confidence breeds mistakes, and how to turn those mistakes into leverage. He had 1 hour until the team arrived. 1 hour to turn a ranch into a fortress. The cartel thought they were leaning on a stubborn old man. By morning, they'd know better. Too late. Engines echoed through the valley. On the feeds, 4 vehicles approached from different routes. Old habits. Rook's black Ram first. Flint Mercer followed in a beat-up Jeep. Nolan Cross and Elias Ward rolled in minutes later, dusted from back roads. They met in the barn, out of sight. 20 years fell away as they formed up, movements still locked. Rook carried his custom Barrett like an extra limb. Flint brought enough shaped charges to level a town, hidden in construction cases. Nolan's gear looked harmless, until it cracked military encryption. Elias's medkit was newer, but familiar. He'd patched them through worse. "Feels like old times," Rook said, gruff and warm. "Except we usually had Washington behind us." "Washington would slow us down," Flint said, eyeing the rafters. "Nice lines. Plenty of exits. You weren't kidding." Cole spread a detailed map on the bench. "They're systematic. Key properties. Distribution routes. This isn't just drugs. It's a permanent foothold." Nolan brought up intercepts. Ex-military in the mix. Mostly Mexican special forces. Good training. Sloppy comms. That's their mistake. "How many?" Elias asked, organizing supplies. 40 mainline, Cole said, tapping marked positions. 2 groups. Muscle teams for intimidation and accidents. Professional teams with real combat time. Rook studied the terrain through the barn door. Natural bottleneck, high ground. We can funnel them exactly where we want. They'll come hard, Cole said. No more suits, heavy weapons, armor, maybe air. Flint grinned. Good. Flint Mercer spread his demolition sketches across the table, fingers tracing lines with quiet intent. Been too long since we had a real fight. This wasn't about stalling them anymore. Cole Ashford's voice hardened as he spoke. We end this for good, not just here. We wipe their entire operation out of this valley. The mood shifted at once. Everyone recognized that tone. It was the same voice that had carried them through missions no one thought survivable, the one that had brought them home when the odds said otherwise. Cole looked at each man in turn. You didn't have to come. You could have stayed retired, stayed safe. Elias Ward answered first, opening his medical bag. You remember Kandahar? That village we walked through after the Taliban were done with it? Some things don't let you walk away. Some fights have to be fought. The cartel took my sister's ranch in Texas, Flint said, checking detonator leads. By the time anyone acted, it was ashes. That won't happen again, not here. Rook Calder only shrugged, but his eyes were set in stone. You called. That's enough. Nolan Cross glanced up from his screen. They're moving faster than expected. Intercepts show the main force mobilizing tonight. No delay. No bargaining. They're coming. To take the ranch and make an example, Cole said, a grim smile cutting across his face. Good. Let's send a message back. The next hour vanished into preparation. Flint seeded the main road with charges capable of rolling an armored truck. Rook built 3 separate sniper hides, each covering a different approach. Nolan tied the cameras and sensors into a single command feed deep in the bunker. Remember Baghdad? Rook said while working. That night raid went sideways fast. Flint laughed. Never saw that much firepower. Until Cole changed the plan midstream, Nolan added. Turned their own defenses on them. Still don't know how you saw that coming. People get predictable when they think they're winning, Cole said, checking ammo. Cartels are no different. They're used to civilians, easy wins. Tonight won't be one. Stand by. Nolan's voice crackled through their earpieces. Movement at the Dobbs place. They're staging up. Thermal shows at least 30 vehicles. No subtlety left, Flint said, setting his final charge. They're coming like an army. Good, Cole replied. Means they're scared, and scared men make mistakes. The sun slid down, throwing long shadows across Shadow Valley. Cole stood with his team on the porch, watching the light fade. They weren't young anymore, but age had given them patience, judgment, the kind earned only through decades of combat. Rook, South Ridge Tower, Cole ordered. Best sightlines. They won't expect eyes up there. Copy. Flint, rig the barn for remote detonation. Make it look like a tempting target. Already thinking the same. Nolan, stay on their comms. The second they split, we exploit it. Locked in. Elias, med station in the bunker. Stay mobile. We're going to need you. Each man nodded. No questions. This wasn't their first impossible mission, just maybe the last. One more thing, Cole said, his voice carrying the full weight of command. We're not just protecting a ranch. We're protecting every family in this valley, every person these men would destroy. We do this right, he continued. We do it clean, and we end it permanently. As the team moved to their positions, Cole checked his weapons one final time. Fang sat beside him, silent and alert. Far off, dust clouds rolled across the flats, the cartel massing. They thought they were gearing up to raid an old man's land. Instead, they were walking into a trap built by men who had survived wars. The radio snapped to life. Nolan's voice was tight. First wave rolling, ETA 15 minutes. Copy, Cole replied. Let them settle in. Let them feel confident. Then, he said softly, we remind them what real soldiers look like. The Arizona sun slipped behind the mountains, plunging the valley into night. Darkness had always been an ally. In the shadows, Cole Ashford was no rancher. He was Ghost Ash again, the hunter of hunters. And before the night was over, the cartel would remember why that name once terrified men far more dangerous than they were. Cole Ashford tracked the cartel column through his night vision scope. 30 vehicles, spacing tight and disciplined. Someone had trained them well. Too bad they'd forgotten the first rule of fighting. Never step onto ground your enemy has already shaped. They're splitting. Nolan Cross crackled over the comm. 3 elements, main body up the center road, 2 flanks swinging wide. From his hide, Rook Calder answered, voice flat and precise. Eyes on the lead truck. Officers in the back seat. Want the shot? Negative, Cole said. Let them settle. We spring it on my mark. Headlights sliced the dark, washing the road toward the ranch. They moved bold, careless of stealth. Why bother? They thought they were hunting an old man. Contact in 2, Flint Mercer reported. Charges set. These boys are about to learn, Cole murmured, watching the first vehicles cross the outer line. Cartel troops spilled out with practiced discipline, weapons up, formations clean. Mateo Cruz stepped from an armored SUV, chopping the air with hand signals. "Spread out," he ordered in Spanish. "Seal the place. Nobody gets out alive." "Heavy weapons coming up," Nolan warned. "Technicals on the trucks, RPGs in the second wave." Cole stayed even. "Stick to plan. Let them commit." They advanced, sliding past the first layer without noticing it. 50 meters, 40, 30. "Sir," a cartel voice cut in. "No movement in the house. Thermals are cold." Cruz snapped his radio. "Check the barn. He's here somewhere." 3 soldiers peeled toward the barn, muzzles high. Cole counted the beats in his head. This was the moment that set the tone. "Now," Cole said. Flint fired the first sequence. The ground heaved beneath the lead vehicles, hurling steel and dirt skyward. Before the dust could settle, Rook's rifle cracked, twice. 2 men folded before they understood they were under fire. "What the hell?" Cruz shouted, diving for cover. "Where's it coming from?" The night tore open. Kill zones woke across the property. Every attempt to rally met crossing fire. 3 pushing east, Rook reported, unhurried, shots snapping in the dark. Handled. Flint answered with thunder, blasts hurting the flank straight into Nolan's lanes. Cole moved like a rumor through the shadows, years of habit guiding each step. He caught 2 soldiers flat-footed, stripped one, used him as cover, then both dropped without a sound. "Who are these guys?" A panicked voice screamed over the net. "This isn't right." "They're too organized," Cruz barked. "Pros, fall back to the vehicles. Reset." "Too late," Cole whispered, tripping the next line. The explosion severed their retreat, boxing them inside the bowl. Rook spoke again. "Technical at your 3, Cole. Gunner down, driver still moving." Cole rolled behind a tractor as 50 cal tore the air where he'd been. The driver was sharp, juking to spoil return fire. Missed his flanks. "Flint," Cole said. "Time to use that toy." A rocket streaked through black, slammed the engine block. The truck flipped end over end in a blossom of fire. "Missed this." Flint laughed. "Focus," Cole snapped. "Just like Damascus." They regrouped behind burning wreckage. Training showed. Credit where due. Even surprised, they adapted fast. "Nolan, count?" Cole asked, shifting position. 22 still combat effective. "They're calling for help. Second wave, 30 minutes. "They won't get it," Rook said, punctuating the claim with another precise shot. Cole watched Cruz try to build a base of fire, buying space for reinforcements. Textbook doctrine. Time to remind them why textbooks get you killed. "Flint, hit the rally. Rook, watch for runners. Elias Ward, be ready. Some of them are about to need medical attention." Multiple blasts tore through the cartel's line. Cole Ashford flowed through the smoke like a rumor, his suppressed rifle erasing threats before they could form. 20 years of hard fighting had taught him economy. No wasted motion, no pause, no doubt. "Contact front," a cartel voice shrieked. "He's inside our perimeter." Cole answered without a word. 3 more dropped before they could turn. Mateo Cruz barked orders, trying to stitch a defense against an enemy that seemed to be everywhere at once. "Who are you?" Cruz yelled into the night. "What kind of rancher fights like this?" "The kind you shouldn't have threatened," Cole said, his voice drifting from nowhere and everywhere. The first assault collapsed. What began as a confident push turned into a scramble to survive. Of the 30 vehicles that rolled in, 12 burned. Of the 60 men Cruz brought, fewer than half were still fighting. "Pull back," Cruz shouted. "Full retreat. Fall to the rally." "I don't think so," Cole said evenly. From the ridge, Rook Calder's rifle spoke 3 times. Tires detonated, shredding rubber and hope, pinning the survivors in place. "Silas Morado is going to kill us all," Cruz muttered, understanding the trap. "He should have done his homework," Cole replied, stepping from the dark behind him. "Should have asked why no one ever took this ranch." Cruz spun, weapon rising, but too slow. Cole struck once, clean and final. Cruz crumpled unconscious as the rest threw down their arms. "Area secure," Rook reported. "No runners. Elias Ward, we've got wounded." "Nolan?" Cole asked. "Status on reinforcements?" "Still inbound, 20 minutes. Bigger this time. They're bringing everything." Cole zip-tied Cruz and nodded. "Good. Let them come. The first wave was a lesson. The next wave," he added, "is where we show them who we are." They regrouped, reloaded, checked angles. The night was young. This was only the opening act. "Just like old times," Elias said, dressing a wounded cartel man. "Better," Cole replied. "This time it's on our ground, and we finish it." The ranch fell quiet after the first fight. Burning hulks painted the desert orange. Zip-tied prisoners sat under Elias's watch. Cruz stirred, realization dawning. "Counts 28 prisoners," Elias reported. 5 critical but stable. The rest can walk." Cole knelt beside Cruz, who glared up, fear wrestling defiance. "Let's talk about Silas Morado." "Go to hell," Cruz spat, switching to Spanish curses. Cole answered him in flawless Spanish, freezing him. "Your reinforcements hit my kill zone in 15 minutes. Be a shame if they repeat your mistakes." Nolan Cross stepped in, laptop glowing. "Intercepts confirm it. Morado's coming himself. He's angry. Heavy weapons. Contractors. This won't look like the first wave." Cruz laughed harshly. "You're dead. Morado leaves no witnesses. He'll burn the whole valley to reach you." "How many?" Cole asked calmly. "Enough to kill you 10 times. Ex-special forces, mercenaries, the best killers." Cole cut him off. "No. How many families have you terrorized? How many ranches stolen? How many accidents arranged?" For a heartbeat, Cruz's bravado cracked. "Rook," Cole said. "What do you see?" "Multiple columns, new vectors. Smarter this time. Thermals show 50+. Heavy teams spread out." "They won't fall for the same trap twice," Flint Mercer added. Cole looked back to Cruz. "Last chance. Help end this with less blood, or watch more of your men die." "You don't understand," Cruz said low. "Morado enjoys it." "I've met men like him," Cole replied, standing. "In worse places. They all end the same." Nolan's voice cut in. "First elements at the outer perimeter. Slow advance. Trap checks." Cole faced his team, faces lit by fire. "They'll hit from every side, numbers and steel. Rook, stay mobile. Shift after every few shots. Flint, bring in the secondary charges. Nolan, keep their comms blind. Elias." The medic nodded toward the prisoners. "I'm ready." The second wave was coming. "Keep them locked down. Keep them breathing," Cole Ashford said evenly. "They expect us to be tired, maybe hurt. They think the first fight cost us. Let them believe it. Overconfidence does the work for us." A new voice cut across the radios, deep, controlled. carrying a Sinaloan edge. Silas Morado himself, issuing orders. "He's found our command channel," Nolan Cross reported. "Want me to jam it?" "No," Cole answered with a thin smile. "Let him talk. Fear spreads better when it's shared." The team broke apart, flowing to pre-planned positions. Years together meant no chatter was needed. Each man knew his lane and trusted the others to hold theirs. Through night vision, Cole watched the second wave advance. Their movement was tighter now, bounding by teams, spacing disciplined. Morado had brought his best. "Contact in 2, Rook Calder said. "Eyes on their command element. Morado's in a black Suburban, 3 back, heavy escort." "Flint," Cole said, "give them something to chew on." Explosions rolled across the dark, not aimed to kill, but to light the field. In the sudden glare, the truth revealed itself. Layered defenses, interlocking lanes, kill zones measured to the yard. "My God," a cartel voice breathed on an open channel. "The whole place is fortified." "Advance," Morado commanded. "They're trying to scare us." "Push." Cole cut into their net in calm Spanish. 43 minutes ago, I had twice your number in body bags or zip ties. That was me being gentle. Last warning, withdraw. The answer came as thunder. Automatic fire tore the night apart, heavy rounds smashing the outer works. The cartel advanced with suppressive fire and movement, no longer sloppy. This was organized, trained. 9 o'clock, Rook called, his rifle replying in measured cadence. "They're running proper drills." "Not thugs," Cole said, watching thermals as support teams set in. "Former Mexican Special Forces, you can see it." A rocket slammed into the barn. The structure held, built for this. But the message was unmistakable. "They're probing," Flint said. "Looking for seams. Want me to—" "Not yet," Cole replied. "Make them commit." Morado's voice boomed. "You can't hide forever. We'll burn everything you own." Cole answered with a single shot. The spotlight shattered. Darkness fell back into place. The darkness his team had trained for, lived in. 3 pushing east, Rook said. "I see them," Cole replied. "Flint, heard." Charges popped, not lethal, directional. The flank stumbled straight into Nolan Cross's lane. His suppressed MP5 whispered 3 times. 3 bodies dropped. "They're coordinating better," Nolan warned. "Encrypted nets, pros." Cole moved like a rumor across his land, each step deliberate. 2 men were setting a machine gun. Good position, clean arcs. They never saw him. One went down to a quiet throat strike. The other folded under a precision takedown drilled into muscle memory. "Command vehicle moving," Rook called. "Morado's shifting with heavy security." "Let him," Cole said. "He's hunting patterns. We'll give him one." The fight slid into a new phase. Morado's people were capable, seasoned in urban fights. But Cole's team had written this doctrine. Every perceived edge became a snare. "RPG team, 2 o'clock, Nolan shouted. Cole rolled as the rocket screamed past and detonated, professional-grade thunder shaking the ground. The second wave was fully engaged now and walking deeper into ground that had already decided their fate. These weren't street punks waving black market rifles. This was real military kit. "Priority target," Rook Calder called out. "RPG teams." "Little busy," the sniper grunted. "Got 3 elements trying to wrap my position." "On it," Flint Mercer answered. Explosions rolled across the flats. The RPG team vanished in a controlled blast, launchers tossed aside, bodies stunned but breathing. Precision work born of decades in the trade. Silas Morado was losing his grip. His men were dying or getting bagged, yet they couldn't pin down their enemy. Every push met fire from an angle they hadn't cleared. Every edge they found dissolved before it paid off. "Advance," Morado barked. "There are only 5 of them. We have numbers." "Numbers don't mean much against ghosts," Cole Ashford said calmly, his voice cutting into their channel. "How many men are you willing to lose tonight?" Automatic fire roared in reply. Cole was already gone, having read the response before it came. 2 more fell to clean, suppressed shots. "West sector's heating up," Elias Ward reported. "They're pushing hard." "That's a feint," Cole replied. "Rook, watch the east. That's the real play." Sure enough, while one element hammered from the west, Morado's best moved quiet and clean through the eastern approach. It was sound doctrine, good enough to beat most defenses. "Count 12, Rook said softly. "Elite team. Real professionals." "Good," Cole answered. "Flint, Elias, shift east. Rook, hold fire until my word. Let's show them what professionals look like." The elite cartel unit advanced with discipline. Perfect spacing, smart use of cover. Halfway in, Cole sprung it. Shaped charges flared, not to kill but to disorient, bleaching the night. Before they could reset their optics, Rook fired. Each round struck with surgical restraint, knees, shoulders, disabling without killing. "Clear them," Cole ordered. Elias moved fast, securing the wounded operators. Morado's voice came tight with fury. "Who are you people?" "You should have done your homework," Cole replied evenly. "Asked why no one ever took this ranch. Rotor wash cut the night." "Air inbound," Nolan Cross warned. "They're bringing a chopper." "Right on time," Cole said. "Got something special for that," Flint chimed in. "Say when." The helicopter swept low, spotlight carving the dark. The door gunner opened up, stitching the ground. The team stayed tight. This had been planned. "Now," Cole said. Flint triggered a specialized device. Not a blast, but a massive aerial flash. The cockpit flooded white. The pilot jerked back, the gunner's fire skidding wild. Rook's rifle cracked once, the spotlight shattered. 2 more shots and the minigun went dead. "You can land it safely," Cole broadcast to the pilot. "Or you can crash. Your call." The helicopter broke away, wisdom winning out. On the ground, Morado shouted orders, desperation bleeding through. His elite team was down. His air support had fled. Cohesion was unraveling. "How many more?" Cole asked on their net. "Before you admit this was a mistake?" The answer came as a savage barrage. Cole was already moving, ghosting through fire and shadow to a new angle. Long ago, they'd named him Ghost Ash for a reason. He appeared, struck, and vanished. Morado snarled over the din. "Burn it. Burn everything." Incendiaries lit the night, phosphorus and thermite turning Earth to hell. "They're desperate," Rook observed, relocating as flames swallowed his last hide, "making mistakes." "Careful," Cole warned. "Desperate men are unpredictable." "Nolan, eyes?" "They're splitting 3 ways. Main force pushing center, best units swinging wide through the burn." A thunderous blast shook the ranch house as satchel charges went off. The reinforced walls held, but the intent was clear. Probing was over. "We need to pull back," Elias called. "Fire's creeping toward the holding area." Cole processed the field in seconds. "Rook, cover east. Flint, buy us time. Everyone else to position 3. No one gets left." "Copy," Flint said grimly. "Save something for this." The ground erupted in chain detonations, magnesium-bright walls of light that seared the air and blinded anyone looking in. And in that white-hot glare, the battle shifted again. In the chaos, Cole Ashford's team executed a disciplined fighting withdrawal, moving prisoners and wounded into a hardened storm cellar built for this exact moment. Firelight flickered as they moved. "They're pressing hard from the west," Rook Calder reported, his rifle cracking in steady rhythm. "These aren't regular hitters. Elite death squad. I recognize the playbook." "Black Hollow men," Cole confirmed. "Silas Morado's personal cutters. Ex-Mexican special forces gone rogue. They're good." "Not good enough," Rook answered, his words punctuated by precise shots. The death squad flowed through smoke and flame with lethal grace, using the fires as concealment. Thermal optics, advanced armor, military-grade weapons, professional killers, not cartel muscle. "Contact!" Nolan Cross shouted. 3 breach inside the inner ring, moving straight for command. Cole shifted to intercept, but coordinated fire pinned him. "Could use a hand," he said calmly as rounds snapped past. "On it," Flint Mercer replied. The ground bucked beneath the death squad, not with shrapnel, but with compressed air and dirt. A non-lethal concussive burst shattered their formation. Cole closed instantly. The fight was short and savage. They were excellent shots. Cole was better up close. The first dropped to a throat strike and a knife disarm in one fluid motion. The second landed a solid hit before Cole's elbow found the nerve behind the ear. The third squared up, clearly their hand-to-hand specialist. "Impressive," the man said in accented English, settling into a fighting stance, "but you're still just an old man." Cole answered with a lightning-fast combination that ended with the specialist unconscious. "Age and treachery," he said quietly. "We've got a problem," Nolan cut in. "They're rolling something big. Thermals show, damn. It's a technical with a heavy autocannon." The roar of 20mm fire split the night, rounds hammering hard enough to threaten even reinforced walls. This wasn't about taking the ranch anymore. This was annihilation. "Rook, can you take it?" "Negative. Too well shielded. Need a new angle." Cole thought fast. Big gun, big weakness. "Flint, remember Serbia, that yard with the armor?" "A beat." "Yeah. Oh, I like where this is going. Can you pull it off? Just like old times. 2 minutes." Morado's voice boomed across the field. "This is what happens when you resist. We will turn this place to ash." The cannon kept pounding. Cole had faced worse. "Nolan, patch me into their net." Channels opened. Cole's voice was cold, instructional. "That's an impressive piece. Russian-made, lifted from a depot. Great for buildings, not so great for what's about to happen." "You're finished," Morado roared. "Look left." Morado did, just as Flint's surprise revealed itself. The old barn, assumed lost to fire, was a shell. The structure had been engineered into a massive directional charge. Not to obliterate, too risky, but to shove. The pressure wave flipped the technical like a toy, cannon rendered useless, crews scrambling. "That was us being polite," Cole announced. "Push harder and we stop." "Kill them all," Morado screamed, fear now riding his words. His men were dying or surrendering. His best units were down. His heavy guns were being erased. "Movement in the tree line," Nolan reported. "Reserve force coming up." "Good," Cole said. "About time." "Rook, you know the drill." The sniper went to work, not killing, but crippling. Vehicles stalled, weapons shattered, options vanished. Each shot forced predictable reactions. "They're pulling back. Nolan said, consolidating around command. Cole checked his ammo. Fires still burned, but the ranch stood. His team was battered, not broken. Morado had just made his worst mistake, bunching up. All units, Cole ordered. Prep final phase. We're done defending. It's time to show them why you don't bring a cartel to a Delta Force fight. The night was about to turn very dark for Silas Morado and his men. They thought the retreat meant victory. They were wrong. Instead, they were stepping straight into the trap Cole Ashford had been shaping since the first shot was fired. He watched Silas Morado's remaining forces bunch up around their command vehicle, exactly where he wanted them. Morado thought he was being clever, pulling his strength together. All he had really done was stack every asset into a single kill zone. All units, Cole said calmly, execute Phoenix Protocol. Acknowledgements clicked in without hesitation. They had rehearsed this more times than any of them could count, back when survival depended on muscle memory. Stand by, Flint Mercer said. Those charges we saved? They're about to earn their paycheck. Target area confirmed. Rook Calder added, voice flat and surgical. Clear sight on command and control. Remember, Cole reminded them, we want survivors. Someone needs to carry the message. The counterstrike unfolded with precision. Flint's charges fired in sequence, not to kill, but to divide. Walls of flame and rolling smoke severed escape routes, funneling the cartel exactly where Cole had designed them to go. What are they doing? Morado shouted as his men found themselves boxed into overlapping fields of fire. Teaching you real combat, Cole answered over the open channel. Pay attention. This is how professionals operate. Rook fired first. 3 measured shots that shredded the cartel's communications array. Engines followed, each disabled one by one. The result was immediate. Blind, deaf, immobile. Do you think this changes anything? Morado yelled, panic creeping into his voice. I have more men, more resources. Not anymore, Cole replied as Nolan Cross flooded their frequencies with white noise. Your reinforcements are being intercepted by state police. Amazing what happens when someone shares accurate intel on cartel movements. Morado reacted the only way he knew how, ordering a desperate push in every direction. It was the wrong call. Cole's team moved like phantoms through smoke and fire, appearing, striking, vanishing. Contact front! A cartel soldier screamed, firing wildly at shadows. Cole was already gone. 3 men fell before they understood what hit them. And by then, he'd shifted again. They're not human, someone shouted in Spanish. They're everywhere. Hold the line, Morado barked. But his authority was cracking. His men were trained soldiers, yet nothing prepared them for an enemy that refused to stay visible. East sector breaking, Nolan reported. They're running. Guide them, Cole said. Rook, discourage any heroes. Rook's rifle cracked methodically, rounds striking dirt at the feet of anyone trying to bolt. The message was unmistakable. Stay where you are, or it gets worse. You're trapped, Cole broadcast calmly. But not the way you think. You're not trapped with us. We are the trap. Another wave of controlled detonations split the remaining cartel forces into isolated pockets, each one cut off and exposed from multiple angles. West Group surrendering, Nolan said. East Group, wait. Movement at the command vehicle. Morado's breaking out. Let him go, Cole replied. Right where we want him. Morado moved fast, grabbing 2 of his last capable men and slipping through the chaos. He wasn't just a desk commander, he knew how to run. Unfortunately for him, Cole had planned for that too. The escape route funneled Morado straight into a prepared position. 1 second he was running. The next, he was staring down the barrel of Cole Ashford's rifle. "Impressive operation," Cole said conversationally. "Good men, solid gear, decent tactics. But you made one mistake." "And what's that?" Morado snarled, fingers edging toward a hidden weapon. "You believed fear only works one way," Cole said, his voice carrying decades of war. "You're used to being feared. Tonight," he continued, "you learn what real fear feels like." Morado moved, fast. But Cole was faster. One precise shot knocked the pistol aside. 2 more dropped the remaining guards. "You know the difference between your men and mine?" Cole asked, advancing as Morado scrambled back. "It's not training, not experience. It's purpose. You fight for money. We fought for something that mattered." Around them, the fight was ending. Most of the cartel forces were surrendering, finally understanding the futility. The few still resisting were being isolated and shut down. "Do you know why they called me?" Cole began, as the night finally started to go quiet. "Ghost Ash," Cole Ashford said, his voice carrying across the battlefield. "Not because I was hard to find. Because by the time you did find me, it was already too late." Silas Morado made his final mistake. He went for a backup weapon. Cole's response was immediate and exact. One clean shot dropped the pistol aside. Another put Morado down. Clutching his shoulder, shock etched across his face at how fast it ended. "Gather the survivors," Cole ordered. "I want them to hear this." As his team rounded up the remaining cartel fighters, Cole stood before them, calm and unmovable. These weren't just defeated men. They were witnesses. "You're alive because we chose precision over power," Cole said evenly. "You stay alive as long as you remember tonight. This valley isn't protected by cops or firepower alone," he continued. "It's protected by men who learn to fight smarter, not louder." "Law enforcement inbound from the south," Rook Calder reported. 10 minutes. "Perfect timing," Cole replied, turning back to the prisoners. "You've got a choice. Stay and face American justice, or run back to your bosses. Either way, spread the word. The next cartel that tries this valley won't get the gentle version." Morado, still gripping his wounded shoulder, looked up with fear mixed with something like respect. "Who are you?" Cole gave a thin smile. "Just a rancher protecting his land. Before that, I was the ghost that hunted better men than you. Remember that." As distant sirens began to color the horizon, Cole's team prepared to fade. The job wasn't just defending a ranch. It was sending a message that would ripple through cartel ranks for years. Dawn crept over the Arizona mountains, revealing the cost of the night. Burned-out vehicles dotted the property, smoke drifting into the morning mist. 35 captured cartel fighters sat zip-tied in groups under Elias Ward's watch, while Flint Mercer and Rook Calder secured the perimeter. "State Police, 3 minutes out," Nolan Cross reported. "FBI about 20 behind them. They're very interested in our guests." Cole surveyed the damage with a practiced eye. The barn was scorched but standing, reinforcements held. The house had taken heavy fire, yet remained sound. Defensive positions he'd built over years had proven their worth. "Morado's stable," Elias called out. "He'll need a hospital eventually." Morado looked up again. "You could have killed us all." "Wasn't the point," Cole said, checking restraints. "Dead men don't carry messages. You're going to tell every cartel from here to Sinaloa what happened." Sirens echoed closer. Cole turned to his team. "Rook, Flint, fade back. No extra questions. Elias, you're a medic handling prisoners. Nolan, wipe anything sensitive. I'll deal with the locals. Clay Morrison's convoy arrived first. 4 patrol cars and 2 tactical units. The sheriff stepped out, stunned as he took in the scene. Jesus, Cole, Morrison said under his breath. We got reports of explosions. What happened here? Uninvited guests, Cole replied calmly. They didn't take rejection well. Morrison walked the perimeter, eyes tracking disabled vehicles, restrained cartel fighters, and the precise, non-lethal damage. This wasn't a firefight, he said quietly. This was something else. They came looking for easy, Cole said. Found different. FBI will want all of this, Morrison added. These are the people terrorizing the valley, the ones we couldn't pin down. Check the barn, Cole said. There's paperwork that might help. Elias approached with his kit. Sheriff, we've got wounded. Nothing critical, but they need transport. Morrison called for ambulances. Deputies began processing the scene, professional masks barely hiding their amazement. Every cartel fighter was alive, injuries exact and controlled, proof of uncommon skill. These IDs, Morrison said, examining gear and weapons. Mexican Special Forces kit, high-end comms, military hardware. This goes deep. Cole nodded once as the morning settled in. The fight was over. The message had been delivered to local crimes, property seizures, and so-called accidents that had haunted the valley for years, more than enough to tear apart the entire operation. Silas Morado watched law enforcement swarm the scene, his stare hard and unreadable. This changes nothing, he said. The cartel will do exactly what we tell them. Cole Ashford cut in calmly. Because if they don't, next time we won't be gentle. Imagine what happens when we actually decide to kill people. FBI vehicles rolled in. Unmarked SUVs, evidence vans, agents in tactical gear moving with purpose. Cole clocked their approach, their spacing, the way they handled weapons. These weren't paper pushers. They'd sent their best. Mr. Harrison, a woman said as she approached, badge forward. Special Agent Lauren Martinez. We're going to need a statement about what happened here. Of course, Cole replied evenly. It's simple. They came to take my ranch. I defended my property. Martinez's eyes swept the battlefield. Disabled vehicles, wounded suspects with consistent, non-lethal injuries, documentation stacked and tagged. Enough to collapse the entire regional network. That's a lot of work for one rancher. Grew up hunting. Cole shrugged. Got lucky. Lucky? Martinez echoed, unconvinced. We've been building a case for months. Couldn't get close. Then in one night, you defeat their assault force and hand us clean intel. Sometimes things line up, Cole said. She didn't press. We'll process the scene. Forensics, photos, statements. Take your time, Cole replied. Just watch the north field. Ground's unstable after all the excitement. Martinez nodded. She understood the warning. Some things wouldn't make it into reports. Some questions were better left alone. As law enforcement worked, Cole's hidden team observed from concealment. They'd fought in places that never existed on maps. This was no different. Quite a mess, Clay Morrison said, rejoining Cole. But I have to ask, this really over? Cole watched Morado loaded into an ambulance under heavy guard. They're businessmen, Sheriff. Tonight taught them this valley is bad business, very bad business. And if they're slow learners, he added, they'll find out why some soldiers never really retire. A week later, Shadow Valley began to change. Former cartel properties went quiet. The Martinez Ranch, once occupied by enforcers, was being surveyed by Rook Calder, his trained eyes reading terrain instead of threats. Cole watched his old friend mark sightlines and choke points with the same precision he'd once used overseas. Ridge overlooks 3 access roads, Rook reported that evening in Cole's rebuilt barn. Clear views 2 miles out. They left in a hurry, file cabinets full of documentation. Flint Mercer looked up from blueprints spread across the workbench. County auctions next week. Shell companies are dumping property cheap. Amazing what happens when criminals lose their nerve, Cole said, studying the valley map. Red marks where cartel assets once stood. Security cameras pinged. Rosa Delgado's truck rolled up the drive. They'd known this talk was coming. Maintain cover, Cole said quietly. The team melted into roles. Farmhands, neighbors, ordinary. Still fixing bullet holes? Rosa called, climbing down. Her eyes caught the professional repairs. Most of them, Cole said. Coffee's hot? Inside, Rosa studied him. Town meeting was interesting. Lots of land coming up for auction. Folks are nervous. Department cleared it all, Cole said, pouring. No cartel presence. That's not what worries them, she said, leaning in. I need to know what really happened that night. Don't tell me it was luck. Cole paused. In a small valley, truths surfaced eventually. What do you think happened? He asked. I think, Rosa said slowly, they didn't run into a rancher. They ran into someone who knew exactly how to fight them. Through the window, Cole watched Rook and Flint discussing property lines. Movements still precise, still disciplined. Sometimes, Cole said softly, people aren't what they seem. Sometimes that's a good thing. The others. Rosa tipped her chin toward the men outside. They're not just buddies patching boards and hammering nails, are they? Does it change anything? Cole asked. Rosa's expression eased. The valley feels different, Cole. Safer. Like something standing watch. Good land deserves guarding. A helicopter droned overhead. National Guard, officially tracking border traffic. But Cole knew the second look was for the valley itself. Since the fight, certain agencies had taken a renewed interest in what kept Shadow Valley quiet. Agent Evelyn Hart was at the diner yesterday, Rosa said lightly, asking questions about you. She's thorough, Cole said, and she understands some stories don't need digging. A pickup rolled in. Elias Ward, boxes of medical supplies in the bed. His cover as the valley's new doctor was settling in. The old clinic needed fresh hands, and a combat medic fit rural medicine better than most. More new faces every week, Rosa noted. That retired Army sniper bought the Wilson place. A medic took over Doc Peterson's clinic. Heard talk of a security consultant sniffing around the old radio station. Cole kept his face neutral, though inside he smiled. The team was threading in cleanly. Roles established, sight lines held, positions layered across the valley. Change isn't always trouble, he said. Sometimes it's exactly right. Another truck crested the road. Nolan Cross returning from installing repeaters. In truth, he was stitching together a quiet network that would make future threats think twice. You're building something, Rosa said, understanding dawning. Not just fixing damage. You're turning the whole valley into a community, one that can protect itself. Cole finished. Sometimes the best defense is never having to fight. Reputation carries farther than bullets. Rosa nodded slowly. That's why you let folks figure it out on their own. The rumors, the whispers, it's part of it. Sharp catch, Rook Calder said as he stepped in, all business despite the Farmhand Act. Perimeter's clear. Rosa caught the slip. the instinctive sir that never quite left trained men. Her look wasn't surprise, it was confirmation. "Your secret's safe," she said quietly. "Though it's not much of one anymore, to the people who matter." "We'll need discretion," Cole said, "and eyes that notice trouble before it knocks." "Like the scout I spotted last week?" Rosa said. Both men stilled. "Handled," Flint Mercer called from outside. "Professionally." Cole nodded. The valley was choosing well. Rosa wasn't just observant, she was already part of the mesh. "Maybe it's time we talked," Cole said, "about the valley's future, about how people who care can help keep it whole." Rosa smiled. "Already happening. Why do you think I came by? Folks are organizing, watching for what doesn't belong." Outside, the Arizona sun slid behind the old mountains that had seen it all. The cartel's fall, and now something new. A vulnerable place learning how to stand. "Times change," Cole said. "They are," Rosa agreed. "For the better. Thanks to a few old soldiers who kept fighting, just differently." As she drove off, the team gathered in the barn. Covers were sticking, positions were set. "She's sharp," Rook said. "Already useful," Cole replied. "The valley's getting what it needs, people who pay attention." "Speaking of attention," Flint added, unrolling plans, "I've got ideas for those other properties." Cole studied the map again. The cartel had picked this valley for its value. Now that same value would serve a different end. Protection. Night settled over the ranch. Quiet, steady, and finally at peace in a way it hadn't been before. Sometimes, Cole Ashford reflected, the best wins aren't the ones you earn with blood. They're the ones that keep blood from ever being spilled again. 2 weeks after the fight, Rook Calder stood on his newly purchased place, the old Wilson property, watching locals arrive for what they believed was a simple shooting club meet. The converted barn looked harmless from the road. Inside, it was a high-end training space built to shape a community without ever calling it a militia. "Firearm safety first," Rook told the gathered ranchers and farmers. "Accuracy before speed. And understand this, shooting in a fight isn't hunting. Targets shoot back." Cole watched from the edge, noticing how naturally Rook slid real tactical fundamentals into plain-spoken lessons. These people weren't soldiers. They were neighbors learning to protect their lives. The principles still held. Your land is your responsibility. Rook continued. Defense isn't just a rifle. It's awareness, observation, knowing your terrain. Rosa Delgado trained with the rest, and her instincts showed. She'd already found 3 hidden observation points Cole's team had layered around the valley. And more importantly, she'd kept her mouth shut. Across Shadow Valley, Elias Ward's clinic was fully up and running. His combat medicine translated cleanly to rural care. But he was doing more than treating broken bones. Every visitor got assessed, not just as a patient, but as either ally or problem. "Interesting morning," Elias reported later at Cole's ranch. "Had a guy claim he was a traveling salesman. His hand said otherwise, calluses that come from weapons work." "A scout," Cole said, checking feeds. "Probably," Elias replied. "I gave him something for his headache. Mild sedative. Nolan's tracking him," Cole said. "Let's see who he reports to." Flint Mercer emerged from his shop where he'd been fixing equipment. To most eyes, the tractors and harvesters were ordinary. Few would notice reinforced frames, layered glass, hidden compartments. "Finish the upgrades on the Delgado place," Flint said. "Rosa's barn could eat a direct mortar hit now, though you'd never know unless you knew where to look." Cole nodded. The valley's shift was happening exactly as planned. quiet improvements that stacked into a defensive web no outsider would clock until it was too late. "The sheriff's been asking questions," Nolan called from his communications room, disguised as a ham radio hobbyist setup. "Nothing hostile? Just curious about all the new folks moving in." "Let him be curious," Cole said. "Better he feels like he's discovering it himself." A truck rolled up. Hank Dobbs stepped out looking troubled, an expression Cole recognized. More locals were starting to notice the pattern. "Cole," Hank called. "You got a minute? Something happened last night. Strange." Cole led him to the porch where Fang lay relaxed but watchful. "Talk to me." "Had visitors after dark," Hank said. "3 vehicles I didn't recognize. They stopped at my gate like they were fixing to start trouble." He paused, picking his words. "Then the weird part. Rook called from the Wilson place. Said he was doing night practice, might get loud. Next thing I know, shots crack from the hills, and those visitors couldn't leave fast enough." Cole kept his face steady. He knew exactly what it was. Overwatch, a warning. The valley's new skin being tested. "Lot of odd things lately," Hank went on. "Military types moving in, cameras going up, folks talking about some kind of community watch." "Times change," Cole said carefully. "After what happened, people are being smarter." Hank nodded, then leaned in. "Thing is, it doesn't feel threatening. It feels organized. Like somebody's looking out for all of us." "Neighbors looking out for neighbors," Cole said. But Hank was sharper than most gave him credit for. "Rosa says we should thank you. Says what you did that night changed everything." Cole gave a dry breath. "Rosa talks." "Rosa's usually right," Hank replied. "Listen, some of us have been talking. We want in. Whatever you and your friends are doing to keep this valley safe, we want to help." Cole studied him. Hank had seen hard years. Vietnam, though he rarely spoke of it. He knew what an operation looked like when he smelled one. "Could use more eyes and ears," Cole admitted. "People who know the land know what belongs and what doesn't." "Already started something," Hank said. "Ranchers, farmers, even town folks. We keep track of strangers passing through, anything off. Figured that might be useful to whoever needs to know." Cole allowed a small, private smile. Shadow Valley wasn't just accepting protection anymore. They were stepping into it. "Go see Rook tomorrow," Cole said. "He's running a special session. Might be educational." After Hank left, Cole's team gathered in the barn to talk it through. The transformation was moving faster than expected, driven by the people themselves. "They're organizing without us pushing," Rook said, approving, "building their own intel net." "Better than planned," Nolan agreed. "Local knowledge plus our structure. The valley becomes a hard target without looking like one." Flint spread fresh blueprints. Got requests from 3 more places for structural improvements. They don't know what we are, but they know what we can do. Elias looked up from his notes. "Time to expand. More training, more preparation." Cole considered it, weighing the valley's momentum, watching a community turn itself from prey into something steady, aware, and ready. Worthy of trust and genuinely committed to protecting their home, but operational security still mattered. Cole Ashford made the call quickly. They would expand, but carefully. Everything would stay compartmentalized. Let people believe they were simply good neighbors watching out for one another. The less anyone understood about the valley's full capabilities, the safer everyone would be. The team agreed without hesitation. They had fought wars overseas, run missions in places that never appeared on maps. Now they were fighting a quieter battle, reshaping an entire community into something resilient, all while preserving the look and rhythm of ordinary rural life. "One more thing," Nolan Cross added. "I intercepted cartel chatter. Word spreading about this place. They're calling it El Valle de los Fantasmas, the Valley of Ghosts, saying it's cursed, protected by spirits that hunt cartel men." Cole let out a thin, knowing smile. Sometimes the strongest defense wasn't steel or firepower. It was reputation. Let them believe in ghosts. The truth, that highly trained operators were hidden among barns and fence lines, was far more dangerous than any legend. The first real test came on an otherwise quiet Tuesday evening. Luke Dobbs, Hank's grandson, spotted them first. 3 unmarked SUVs creeping along the back roads, slowing to photograph properties. 16 years old and steady as stone, Luke did exactly what Rook Calder had taught him. He kept fixing the fence, never looking twice, and sent a single prearranged text. Within minutes, the valley's warning net came alive. Farmers found excuses to be in their fields, checking irrigation while noting vehicle types and head counts. Rosa Delgado just happened to drive by, her dashcam catching license plates. Every move looked casual, natural. Nothing that hinted the visitors had already been flagged. 4 men in the lead vehicle. Nolan reported from his station as civilian updates poured in. Armed, trying to hide it. Second SUV's got camera gear. Third's hanging back, security. Cole watched the feeds, impressed. No one rushed in. No one played hero. They gathered intelligence exactly as trained. "Confirmed," Elias Ward added. "Matched 2 faces to cartel medical files. Low-level iron serpents out of Tijuana. They're testing us, checking if the stories are real." "Rook, you're at 3 o'clock," Cole said quietly, tracking the scouts through optics. "Got eyes?" Rook replied. "Want me to drop one?" "Not yet," Cole said. "Let's see how the neighbors handle it." The SUVs turned onto a side road, approaching one of the properties the cartel had abandoned weeks earlier. They ran straight into the valley's first prepared response, and never noticed it. Hank Dobbs and 3 other ranchers were already there, leaning against trucks mid-conversation. Their placement was perfect. The road was blocked without looking blocked, a choke point that felt accidental. "Afternoon," Hank called as the lead SUV stopped. "You folks looking for something?" The driver rolled down his window, wearing a tourist's smile. "Just admiring the land. Beautiful valley." "Sure is," Hank said easily. "Shame about all the problems, though." The scout's interest flickered. "Problems?" "Oh yeah," Hank went on. "Old government testing ground back in the 80s. Soil contamination. Can't grow much safely. That's why land's so cheap. Can't farm it. Can't sell it." Cole smiled to himself. The cover story was holding. Flint Mercer had even planted half-buried warning signs, just visible enough to unsettle anyone snooping. The scouts exchanged uneasy looks. Their intel hadn't mentioned any of this. Right then, Rosa pulled up behind them, casually boxing them in. "EPA oversight all over this valley," she added helpfully. "Had incidents last year. Deformed calves, crops went bad, burned everything." The discomfort was obvious now. They'd come expecting guns or soldiers. Instead, they got friendly locals and land that sounded worthless. "Guess we took a wrong turn," the driver said quickly. "Appreciate the warning." As they passed Rosa's truck, she waved cheerfully, snapping crystal-clear photos through a concealed camera. 3-headed calf was a bit much, Cole murmured over comms. "Worked, though," Rosa replied, amused. The valley held its pose as the SUVs left, tracking every move. The scouts never knew they'd triggered motion sensors, cameras, and a full response element hidden in the trees. That night, the team reviewed the footage. The contamination angle was smart, Rook said. Hard to verify. No cartel risks toxic land. Hank's group handled it clean, Nolan added. Natural positioning, multiple sight lines. They're learning. Flint pulled up facial recognition results. All 6 confirmed. Root scouts. They'll write this place off. Best part, Elias said. They think they figured it out themselves. Cole studied the screens, quietly satisfied. In weeks, the valley had gone from hunted to hardened. The scouts had come looking for weakness or obvious force. They found something far worse. A community that looked unprepared, but wasn't. Do you think they'll try again? Rosa Delgado asked, joining them only after confirming she hadn't been followed. Different groups probably will, Cole Ashford replied. But every time, they'll run into something that makes this valley look like a bad investment. Environmental concerns, zoning restrictions, archaeological protections that halted development. Better for outsiders to walk away, convinced the land was worthless, than to leave suspecting it was defended. Speaking of defense, Rook Calder cut in. Hank's boy showed real instinct today. Spotted the tail vehicle when it peeled off, tracked it without drawing attention. Might be ready for the advanced group. The valley was evolving faster than any of them had projected. What started as basic self-protection was becoming layered defense. Social, informational, psychological. They weren't training people to fight. They were shaping a community that could recognize threats, collect intelligence, and respond correctly without ever looking militant. I've got more, Nolan Cross said, eyes on his screens. Cartel chatter spiked after our visitors left. They're spreading the contamination story themselves now, adding details. A couple claim their men got sick just driving through here. Perfect, Cole said. Let them build our cover for us. Every rumor made the valley less attractive. Every exaggeration pushed outsiders further away. Rosa studied the tactical display replaying the day's events. When you first started training us, I thought it was just about personal safety. But this is different, isn't it? We're not just defending the valley. We're making it invisible. The best defense isn't always a fence or a rifle, Cole said. Sometimes it's convincing people there's nothing worth taking, nothing worth investigating. The team broke off to their positions. The quiet vigilance now second nature. Shadow Valley wasn't becoming an armed camp. It was becoming something far more effective. A place that could protect itself while looking completely ordinary. One thing's certain, Elias Ward said, as they watched the sun dip behind the hills. No one's ever going to look at this valley the same way again. Cole nodded. The real victory wasn't chasing off scouts. It was how naturally the people had responded. They weren't soldiers. They would never be soldiers. But they had become something just as formidable. Citizens who knew how to protect their home without appearing dangerous. The valley passed its first test cleanly. The next would be harder, but they'd be ready. The strongest defenses are the ones your enemies never realize they're facing. Word spread through criminal networks, but not as warnings of gunfights or resistance. Instead, stories focused on mysterious illnesses, contaminated land, and unexplained equipment failures. Each retelling grew wilder, creating a mythology more useful than any overt show of force. Latest rumor says 3 cartel scouts went blind just driving through, Nolan reported at the next briefing. Another claims crops planted with stolen money withered overnight. My favorite, Rook said while cleaning his rifle, is the one about ghost soldiers showing up on thermal scopes. Imagination does half the work for us, Cole said. But not all attention was imaginary. Sheriff Clay Morrison arrived that afternoon, his expression unsettled. Local law enforcement had kept its distance, understanding that some questions were better left unanswered. Until now. Got folks from the DEA asking questions, Morrison said without preamble. They're curious why every criminal outfit in the region suddenly decided this valley's radioactive. Bad soil stories get around, Cole replied mildly, tightening a bolt on his tractor. Morrison sighed. I've worn this badge 30 years. I know a coordinated defense when I see one, and I know those hunting accidents with cartel scouts weren't accidents. Sounds complicated, Cole said evenly. Must keep you busy. That's the thing, Morrison replied. It doesn't. Crime here dropped to nothing. No drugs, no violence. It's like someone erased the valley off the map. Fang patted over, friendly but alert. Morrison scratched the dog's ears, choosing his next words carefully. DEA isn't the only one curious. FBI analysts are digging into why this place went dark. They're noticing things, new residents with convenient backgrounds, communications gear that's a little advanced for ranchers. Training that looks a lot like counterinsurgency. Cole set down his wrench and finally met the sheriff's eyes. Sounds like they're overthinking it. Sometimes a community just decides to look out for itself. By running coordinated surveillance, sharing intelligence, spreading disinformation like pros? Morrison pressed. Before Cole could answer, Rosa's truck rolled up the drive, right on cue. She monitored every approach, providing early warning whenever officials showed up. Sheriff, she called brightly. Here for the community watch meeting? Morrison blinked. Community watch? Oh yes, Rosa said smoothly. After all that cartel trouble, folks wanted to be prepared. Basic security awareness, emergency response, nothing fancy. It was the perfect cover, true in every detail, revealing nothing essential. That's right, Cole added. Amazing what ranchers can do when they share information and watch out for each other. Morrison looked between them, understanding settling in. Community watch, he repeated. That'd explain a lot, especially if it's official. Meetings, records, probably should be, Cole agreed. Might even help to have law enforcement oversight. The sheriff nodded slowly. I could help with that. Keep it above board, maybe even secure some state funding. Rosa smiled. That's a great idea. After Morrison left, the team stepped out from their concealed positions. They'd tracked every word, every movement. Smooth, Rook said. Give them an answer that fits. He's sharper than he lets on, Elias noted, but he's choosing to help us keep the cover intact. Cole looked out over Shadow Valley. The transformation had reached a tipping point. Too effective to hide completely, too important to expose. We adapt, he said. They'll see what we want them to see. And the federal attention? Flint Mercer asked. Let them look, Cole replied. They'll find exactly what we intend. A well-organized community that learned how to protect itself. A community protection program, nothing more. Nolan Cross's monitoring gear chirped softly, drawing everyone's focus. Movement on the northern boundary. 3 vehicles, same pattern as last week's scouts. Alert the network, Cole Ashford said calmly. Let's show the sheriff how a proper community watch handles unwanted visitors. The response was immediate and invisible. Farmers found reasons to be out in their fields, tractors idling in just the right places to provide clear sight lines on the approaching vehicles. The local hunting club, now quietly trained by Rook Calder in advanced marksmanship, began a scheduled target practice. The rifle cracks rolled across the valley, Ordinary to locals, unsettling to outsiders. "Contact team in position," Rosa Delgado reported. She had taken over coordination of the civilian response groups with natural authority. Thompson starting the road maintenance delay. Right on cue, a municipal truck crawled onto the main access road. Cones going up, a slow and very official-looking repair blocking the most direct route into the valley. The suspicious vehicles would be forced to detour past 3 separate observation points. "Remember," Cole transmitted across the civilian channel, "today we're just concerned neighbors. Notice everything. React to nothing." The valley's defenses had evolved far beyond basic security. This was deterrence wrapped in normalcy. A community able to identify, track, and quietly discourage threats while maintaining total deniability. Every move had a legitimate explanation. Every response could be written up on paper. "You know," Elias Ward said thoughtfully as he watched the operation unfold, "we spent years operating in the shadows. Now we're hiding in plain sight, running a defense network that officially doesn't exist." "The best disguise is the truth," Cole replied. "We're helping our neighbors protect themselves. Everything else is just detail." The Arizona sun climbed higher, ranches carrying on with their daily routines while discreetly tracking the vehicle's progress. Shadow Valley had become something rare, neither military base nor helpless town, but a hybrid that borrowed the strengths of both. And if federal agencies chose to investigate, they'd find exactly what they were supposed to find: a remarkably well-run community watch. The rest, the ghost soldiers on thermal scopes, would remain rumor. Sometimes, Cole reflected, the strongest defense wasn't what people saw, but what they believed they saw. The Community Watch's first official meeting drew more attention than expected. 2 FBI agents sat in the back of the town hall pretending to blend in. A DEA analyst took notes near the front. Even state police had sent an observer. Cole stood at the front, playing the role of a rancher helping his neighbors organize. "Basic security awareness," he explained. "Knowing who belongs here and who doesn't. Recognizing suspicious behavior. Nothing complicated." Rook, acting as a retired Army sniper who just loved teaching shooting safety, outlined the firearms program. Every word sounded ordinary, yet carried deeper meaning for those who understood. "Proper radio procedures matter," Rook said. "Clear communication prevents misunderstandings." Rosa managed the sign-in sheet, noticing how federal eyes lingered on certain names. They were building profiles, trying to explain how the valley had gone from cartel hotspot to dead zone. "Movement at the north checkpoint," Nolan murmured into Cole's concealed earpiece. 2 SUVs, same pattern as the Tijuana group. Cole didn't pause. Through the window, he watched farmers casually reposition equipment, creating natural barriers that would funnel the vehicles into predictable paths. "Community awareness," Cole told the room, "means working together, looking out for each other, being ready for anything." The FBI agents exchanged glances as 3 local trucks quietly departed. To casual eyes, it looked like folks slipping out of a dull meeting. In reality, they were moving into observation posts. "Eyes on vehicles," Rosa whispered after stepping outside to take a call. "Cartel for sure, but Colombian. Different outfit." Cole continued speaking about routine neighborhood watch procedures, while a layered defensive operation unfolded outside. Someone had deliberately timed their probe to coincide with the public meeting. "No heroes," Cole said to the crowd. "No lone wolves. We act as a team." The DEA analyst scribbled furiously, catching the phrasing. Everything being said was legal, just unusually disciplined. "Vehicles approaching Main Street," Rook murmured over comms. running facial recognition now. The meeting rolled on. The perfect cover. Cole discussed emergency response while tracking deployments in his periphery. Every sentence could appear in an official report while doubling as live instruction. "When you see something suspicious," he said, "observe and report. Leave intervention to the proper authorities." Right on cue, Sheriff Clay Morrison's deputies rolled in on a routine patrol that happened to intercept the Colombian vehicles. The scouts were politely but firmly escorted out of the valley, their presence logged through official channels. "Coordination with law enforcement is key," Cole emphasized. The FBI agents nodded, unaware they'd just witnessed a real-time demonstration. After the meeting, Morrison approached, voice low. "Interesting timing with those Colombian visitors." "Timing matters," Cole replied. "Especially when federal observers are watching how a community watch works." "They bought it," Morrison said. "Perfect blend of civilian organization and law enforcement cooperation. Almost too perfect." "Sometimes the best hiding place," Cole said, "is showing people exactly what they expect." Morrison nodded. "DEA thinks there's a Black Ops unit here. FBI thinks it's a sanctioned intel program. Nobody suspects it's just ranchers who work really well together." "Funny what motivation and organization can do," Cole replied. As the federal observers departed, the team regrouped at the ranch. Cover intact. Security maintained. Threat neutralized without a ripple. "Colombian cartels testing the waters," Nolan reported. "They think the Mexican pullback left a vacuum." "Let them test," Rook said evenly. Bad soil stories worked just fine in Spanish. Rosa Delgado arrived last, having tailed the federal agents long enough to be sure they truly cleared the valley. "They're convinced they cracked it," she said. "Think we're some kind of official operation." "The best cover is the one your enemies invent for themselves," Cole Ashford replied. "They chase complicated answers and overlook the simple truth." "We're exactly what we look like," Rosa said. "Just more organized than anyone expects." Elias Ward joined them, fresh from the clinic. "Heard something interesting today? The cartel's putting bounties out, real money, for solid intel on this valley. They're desperate to understand why they can't get a foothold." "Let them stay confused," Cole said evenly. "Mystery works better than force. They'll burn time hunting secrets that don't exist, while our real strength, people, preparation, coordination, sits in plain sight." The sun dipped behind the hills, washing the valley in purple and gold. On the surface, nothing had changed. Ranchers worked fences, farmers tended fields. Life rolled on as it always had. Beneath that calm, an unseen web of eyes, radios, and routines kept everyone safe. "You know," Rosa said quietly as the light faded, "when you first started training us, I thought it was just self-defense. This is different. We're not only protecting the valley, we're changing how it's perceived." Cole nodded. The transformation went deeper than barriers or drills. They'd shaped a place that could defend itself while looking utterly ordinary. The strongest shield wasn't steel or tactics. It was making the valley look worthless to criminals and boring to officials. "Next phase starts tomorrow," Cole told the team. "Expand training, tighten coordination. With federal eyes on us, everything stays documented and legitimate." "Hiding in plain sight," Rook Calder said with a dry smile. "Never thought I'd run a real operation disguised as a cover story disguised as a real operation." "Sometimes," Cole replied. "The safest secret is letting everyone think they already know it." The Colombian cartel tested that theory on a quiet Sunday morning. No scouts, no muscle. Instead, 3 well-dressed men arrived in a rental car, briefcases full of glossy proposals. Real estate developers. Rosa reported from the diner, where she'd casually overheard them. Talking resorts and economic growth. Convincing. Cole watched through the feeds as the men met landowners, contracts neat, smiles polished. No threats, no weapons. They're adapting, Rook said from Overwatch. No thugs, no obvious ties. Just business fronts backed by cartel money. This wasn't a problem for scare tactics or contamination stories. Cole gathered the core team while the community quietly tracked the visitors. Time for the historical society play, Cole decided. Elias, you're up. Elias, already known as a local history enthusiast alongside his medical work, slid into their booth at the coffee shop, uninvited and enthusiastic. Development? He boomed. Have you seen the archaeological surveys? This whole valley's protected. The developers exchanged looks. Burial grounds, historic battle sites. Elias continued, spreading maps. More preservation orders than buildable land. This didn't show in our research, the lead man said carefully. Oh, that's because most of it's classified. Elias replied, delighted. Former military testing area, still finding unexploded ordnance. Bomb squad's been out twice this month. Rosa rushed in on cue. Elias, they found another one in Thompson's Field. Need you to check if it's historical before disposal. Interest drained from the developers' faces. Federal bureaucracy was worse than guns. Mention endangered species, Cole murmured over the radio. Elias lit up. Don't get me started on the spotted owls. Protected habitat. Environmental impact studies take years. Can't even trim a tree without approval. By the time Elias finished his cheerful tour through regulations, preservation laws, and unexploded ordnance protocols, the developers were already inventing reasons to leave. Their polished, legitimate approach slammed straight into a wall of red tape. They're pulling out, Rook Calder reported. Headed for the highway. No farewell needed, Cole Ashford replied. Let them go. They'll warn the next ones about the paperwork nightmare. Later, the team regrouped to break it down. The Colombian cartel's bid for a clean purchase hadn't failed to bullets or threats, but to law, process, and patience. Beautifully layered, Flint Mercer said. Every document is real. Every rule checks out. That's the trick, Nolan Cross added. We didn't invent regulations. We just made sure they applied here. No one can prove we're doing anything except following the law to the letter, Cole said. Rosa Delgado arrived with word from her watchers. It's already spreading. 2 other development groups canceled visits. Nobody wants to wrestle with our regulatory mess. Better than guards or guns, Cole said quietly. Nobody wants to fight City Hall, especially when it's federal preservation orders. But success brought questions. Sheriff Clay Morrison showed up looking uneasy. State Historical Society's asking around. Someone's been filing a lot of preservation requests. Natural curiosity, Cole said mildly. Amazing what turns up when folks start looking. Morrison sighed. In a month, we've stacked environmental protections, historical designations, endangered species surveys, and archaeological studies. Feels like this valley's wrapped in more red tape than the Pentagon. Cole smiled. Good fences make good neighbors. Sometimes those fences are paperwork. The sheriff studied him. When you started the community watch, I figured it was basic safety. This is more. Everyone brings a skill, Cole said. Some spot trouble. Some know federal regs. Put it together. You get protection without looking threatening. At dusk, The team ran their evening brief. The strategy was working. Criminal outfits couldn't take the valley by force, and now couldn't buy it either. 3 more groups backing off, Nolan said, scanning feeds. Our reputation's spreading. Even front companies are staying away. Smart money runs from red tape, Flint said. Nobody wants a war with paperwork. Rosa came in with coffee and diner gossip. Stories are getting wild. Now they say anyone moving drugs through here vanishes. The best defense lives in people's heads, Cole said. Let them invent reasons to stay away while we keep building what they'll never fully see. A community that protects itself by looking exactly as it is. Night settled over the valley. Stars sharp in the desert sky. On the surface, life stayed ordinary. Underneath, something rare held steady. A defense built on organization, reputation, and letting others see precisely what they expected. 6 months after the night that changed everything, Cole stood on his porch watching the sunset. The scars were gone, patched walls, cleared wreckage, but the deeper change remained. Report from down south, Nolan said, handing him coffee. 3 cartels tried nearby counties. All pulled out once they realized how close they were to us. Cole smiled faintly. Reputation beats walls. 20 new students today, Rooks said, stepping from the barn after another safety class. Good instincts, all of them. The valley had become something singular, avoided by criminals who never quite knew why. The stories grew legs: cursed land, secret tests, ghost soldiers flickering like mirages. My favorite rumor, Rosa called as she pulled up, invisible drones and satellites. A scout swore he saw his own heat signature chasing him. That'd be Flint's heated irrigation mist. Elias Ward chuckled. Thermals hate warm water. The truth was simpler and sharper. Every ranch was a sensor, every business a node, every routine a layer, hidden beneath normal life. Morrison called, Nolan said. DEA tagged us low priority, too boring. Same with the FBI, Rosa added. Evelyn Hart says we're a self-regulating community model. That means we did it right, Cole said. They found exactly what they expected, nothing more than a well-run rural valley. The transformation was complete. Elias's clinic doubled as a regional training hub. Rook's range earned official certification. Flint's company handled renovations that quietly reinforced everything. Nolan checked his tablet and nodded. All of it ordinary, all of it intentional. Different criminal organizations had quietly declared the valley off limits. 3 more were now actively spreading warnings about the dangers of coming anywhere near it. The best part? Each group believed they knew the real reason, and every single one of them was wrong. Cole Ashford watched a Border Patrol helicopter drift across the sky. The valley had developed an unusual relationship with law enforcement. Not allies, not adversaries. Just a place that stayed quiet, orderly, and largely handled its own problems. Authorities appreciated having a calm sector, even if they never quite understood why it worked. The results spoke for themselves. Thompson's boy spotted something yesterday, Rosa Delgado said. Cartel scouts camped at the old fire lookout. 3 days of observation, took notes, never crossed the boundary. And? Cole asked. They filed it as strategically worthless, Rosa replied. Environmental hazards, heavy federal oversight, not worth the risk. Perfect, Cole nodded. Exactly where we want them. Let them decide it's not worth the trouble. The weekly community council meeting was about to begin. What had started as a cover for security coordination had grown into something real. A place where valley folk organized openly while quietly reinforcing their defenses. Remember when we thought we'd just teach basic safety? Elias Ward said as they walked toward the town hall. Now we've got grandmothers running informal counter-intel and ranchers doing thermal sweeps during morning chores. They've learned fast, Rook Calder said with quiet pride. Yesterday I watched Luke Dobbs coordinate a 5-point surveillance check using nothing but fence repairs as cover. Kids have instincts for this. Inside, the town hall filled. To an outsider, it looked like a normal rural meeting. Only trained eyes would notice the careful spacing, the unobstructed sight lines, the subtle signals passed without words. Movement on the South Ridge, Nolan Cross murmured, glancing at his phone. 3 vehicles. Cartel pattern. Let's show them how a proper community handles visitors, Cole said evenly. The response rippled out, invisible and immediate. Farmers shifted equipment into convenient positions. A road crew just happened to begin work on the main approach. Casual onlookers documented plates and faces while appearing to mind their own business. Already turning back, Rosa reported 10 minutes later. Didn't even reach the outer markers. That was the real victory. Not the battle months ago, but what had been built since. A defense so natural it didn't look like one at all. Just a place where people noticed things, shared information, and quietly closed ranks. Latest numbers, Elias said softly during the meeting. 15 families moving in next month, all vetted, useful skills. 3 former military, 2 ex-law enforcement, 1 comms specialist. The valley was growing, but carefully. Strength came not from weapons, but from shared purpose. Later that evening, Rook shook his head. Sometimes I wonder what those cartel boys would think if they knew the truth, that their biggest obstacle isn't ghosts or black ops, just ordinary people working together. They'd never believe it, Cole replied. That's why it works. The truth's too simple for them. Night settled in. The valley looked unchanged. Same ranches, same farms, same routines. But beneath the calm surface lived something rare. A community that defended itself through unity and awareness, letting outsiders see exactly what they expected to see. You know what the real victory is? Rosa said as the last light faded. Not that we stopped them, but that we'll never have to fight that battle again. Cole nodded. We built something that lasts. In the distance, another scout vehicle paused at the valley's edge. Like dozens before it, it observed, reported, and turned away. Rumors would grow, ghost stories would spread, and the valley would remain secure, not through force, but by letting others convince themselves to stay away. Cole allowed a small smile. Sometimes the strongest defense was becoming something your enemies couldn't understand, and therefore couldn't defeat. The ghost of the borderlands had done his job, not by fighting, but by teaching others how to protect what mattered. The valley was now its own fortress, invisible, enduring, and safe for generations. Finally, let me send my deep thanks to you. Thank you for listening. If this story has touched your heart, I invite you to stay with us to discover more true tales of the Wild West. Stories that honor resilience, tenderness, and the spirit that God placed in those who blaze the trail. Subscribe, share. Leave your thoughts in the comments, and join us once again to journey across this untamed land. Thank you. Aviso legal. Disclaimer. These stories are crafted purely for entertainment and may contain imaginative additions or dramatic interpretations inspired by the old frontier eras. We use AI-based resources, voice, imagery, and drafting, as part of our creative process. But every final detail is carefully reviewed and shaped by human effort to preserve emotional depth and authenticity. We strictly follow YouTube's rules regarding AI-generated content and refrain from deep fakes, altered identities, or misleading representations. All images, sounds, and related materials are lawfully obtained. Please do not reuse, modify, or distribute any portion of this content without written permission. Thank you for valuing creativity, respect, and original work.